It's time for America Outdoors Radio, the show that covers the outdoor scene across the U.S. of A. and the entire continent. Fishing, hunting, conservation, outdoor recreation, and great destinations. We cover it all every week. It's your country, your outdoors. Let's explore it together with your host, John Cruz.
Have you ever gone humpy fishing? No, it's not a dirty thing to do. It's fun. Humpies are the nickname for pink salmon, known as such for the big humps the males develop on their back after they enter freshwater streams to spawn. Pink salmon are caught by anglers in Alaska, Washington, and British Columbia, both in the freshwater and the saltwater. They weigh 3 to 5 pounds on average and are usually very abundant and relatively easy to catch. Some folks say they're not the best table fare, but personally, I disagree. A freshly caught pink salmon cooked on the Barbie is a fine meal. So, what are the Pacific Coast pink runs looking like this year? It's a mix of mostly bad news and a little bit of good news, I'm afraid, primarily due to ocean conditions and a large blob of unusually warm water in the Gulf of Alaska, which appears to be affecting all sorts of salmon stocks. The most heavily affected area is Puget Sound in Washington State, where only 1.15 million pink salmon are expected to return, about 20% of the long-term average. Heading north to British Columbia, the runs coming through the Strait of Georgia are expected to be average to maybe below average, but should provide anglers some opportunity. However, the forecast on the famed Fraser River in British Columbia is down because only about half the average number of salmon fry were seen in the river last spring. And in Alaska, 2016 was a very bad year for pink salmon, where the Alaska Journal reports commercial harvests in Kodiak, Prince William Sound, and Lower Cook Inlet came in woefully under forecast projections. The total state harvest was the smallest since the 1970s. On the other hand, the Fisherman's News reports biologists with the Alaska Department of Fish and Game are predicting a run of 43 million pink salmon in southeast Alaska this year, which is considered a strong run and will be above the recent 10-year average of 39 million humpies. So I guess there is a silver lining for all of you pink salmon fishing aficionados out there. Turning to the show this week, we'll be talking to a new boat manufacturer that's coming to the U.S., making recreational fishing boats, some of them quite large and luxurious too, with a European influence. The company is Fish on Boats, and we'll be telling you more about them in a couple of minutes. Bird hunting season may be over, but it's not too early to book a trip for next year in either Alberta, Canada, or Tule Lake, California with TLC Adventures. Owner John Seibert, the owner of this guide service, will tempt you to come to Canada for an early season trout fishing, upland bird, and duck hunting cast and blast, or a standard duck goose fall field hunt, or a California late season goose hunt. In addition to that, we've got some steelhead fishing news from Northern California, and we'll check in with Randy Wells. He's a guide who's wrapping up his steelhead fishing season in Southern Oregon and heading to Seward, Alaska for fishing this spring and summer. Not only does Randy offer some early fishing opportunities in Alaska, he also is on a TV show. It's called Lunker Junkies TV. We're going to have a fun conversation with him. And sticking with steelhead, we'll also talk to Randy Lado with All Ways Fishing Charters. He's fishing the Olympic Peninsula at the northwest tip of the continental United States in Washington for big native steelhead, and he'll tell you about opportunities later this spring to fish for lingcod, sea bass, and halibut too. Throw in a couple of big outdoors news stories, and we've got a lot coming at you. So step off the dock and climb on board, because we're going to tell you about some really cool fishing boats. Folks, if you were at the big Seattle Boat Show this year, you probably noticed a new player in town, Fish on Boats. They make, well, a couple different types of boats. They make some center cockpit open boats for anglers. They make some big yachts that you can also fish out of. And like I said, they are brand new in the U.S. With us here to tell us more about Fish on Boats is the owner, Tony Peterson. Tony, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, John. Appreciate you interviewing us.
Well, Tony, it's always exciting to have a new player in the mix because it means more opportunity for anglers and boaters out there. Tell us a little bit about Fish on Boats and how you differ from a lot of the boats that anglers are currently seeing for saltwater and big water purposes here in the U.S.
Well, we're very excited, obviously, having a new line of boats. We put a lot of time and effort into these boats. They're basically designed in Europe, so they have a very nice European design to them. They're also very functional. We call it the center cockpit, the 523. It has a nice walk around with very deep wells. The cockpit itself is fully enclosed with a rear sliding door, making it a terrific boat for the Northwest from a weather perspective as well as from a safety perspective, because we're able to walk around these deep wells all around the boat. So from a fishing platform all the way through to just boat handling and getting to the dock and tying up.
So you have two series of boats, for lack of a better word, the 3 Series and the 5 Series. We'll start with the 3 Series, which are these center cockpit open boats that you just described. And they really do have a different look, and I guess it's that European influence. Not only that, but your boats, both the 3 Series and 5 Series, they come in at a lower price point than the competitors. How do you manage that?
Well, we have a fairly state-of-the-art factory. And the factory is owned by a good friend of mine who owns a shipyard, and he builds them to our design, our specification for us. And although the price point is incredibly good, the quality is actually superior. I mean, I'll give you a good example. It's pretty hard nowadays to purchase a glass boat that is hand-laid. Most of the manufacturing in glass boats today is what they call a chop, which is kind of like a spray gun that chops the fiberglass and resin at the same time and essentially sprays it on, versus hand laying these big sheets of fiberglass mat, which obviously make the hull much stronger.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tony, if you're going to own a company that manufactures boats for anglers and for boaters, it's pretty nice to have a friend who owns a shipyard. I've got to admit, that definitely has got to help with the price point. Let's talk about the 5 Series. And I guess I would describe these, looking on your website, as yachts you can fish out of. They are big and they are beautiful. How big do they get? And tell our listeners more about those.
Yeah, I just very quickly again, the 3 Series are basically a center cockpit. The 5 Series end up being a enclosed cockpit, but all of the boats are what we call walk-around. So you have a very deep, wide walk-around, which makes them extremely unique, as it were, in terms of their design. And they do have kind of a yacht appearance, although they're very functional as obviously fishing boat. The smallest one we make is the 522, which is a 22-footer. Again, has a nice little V-berth in it, fully enclosed pilot house, and a fairly good-sized fishing area. So incorporated in even the small boat, we have a fully functional marine head, little sink, and a little V-berth. So it really kind of makes very good family boat as well. Then we jump up to the 530, which is a 30-foot boat, very similar looking boat to the 22, except for everything is much, much larger. And then from there we jump up to the 44-foot, which is, as you mentioned, kind of a yacht you can fish off of, but it is designed specifically for fishing, so makes for a great offshore fishing vessel as well as a good family cruiser.
I'll tell you what, just looking on the website, I would love to see these in person. Where can folks actually see your boats and find out more about them?
Well, like I said, we are a new company. We do have a demo center in Ferndale, Washington, which is close to Bellingham at the marina, Sandy Point Marina. We are also actively looking for dealers throughout the United States and hope to be able to have many more places where people can view and test these boats.
All right, so whether you are maybe a boat dealer listening in today or somebody who wants to check out this new line of boats, go to their website. It's fishonboats.com. Really simple, fishonboats.com. Check them out. Again, they're a new player in town, and they've got something worth looking at. Tony, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity, John. I appreciate it.
Oregon's Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the West Coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Be sure to attend the Monroe Sportsman Show April 7th through the 9th at the Evergreen State Fairgrounds, with tons of vendors offering big discounts, a lineup of expert speakers, and a stock trout pond for the kids. This show will be fun for the whole family. Admission is only $6 and kids under 12 are free, so be sure to attend the Monroe Sportsman Show, presented by Puget Sound Anglers Snow King Chapter and sponsored by Three Rivers Marine with support from the TPA Fund of Snohomish County. Find out more at monroesportsmanshow.com.
Master Marine in Mount Vernon, Washington specializes in fishing and fun. We offer 7 brands of boats, including Osprey, Sea Sport, Sea Dory, Tomcat, Lund, Weldcraft, and Thunderjet. We also offer Suzuki, Yamaha, and Mercury motors. In other words, no matter what you're fishing for, we've got the boat for you. Drop by Master Marine at 330 East Blackburn Road in Mount Vernon to see what's on the lot, or go online to mastermarine.com. That's mastermarine.com.
RCI X-Rail has the high-capacity magazine or accessory you need for your shotgun. Whether you're using it for tactical purposes, competitive shooting, or special hunts, where maximum round counts don't apply, RCI's X-Rail lets you get more rounds downrange faster because you don't have to reload as often. And their performance shop will race up your shotgun by opening the port for fast loading, lightening the trigger, or adding sights and accessories. RCI X-Rail is your shotgun solution because they are the shotgun people. Find out more at xrailbyrci.com.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and this portion of the show is brought to you by California Sportsman Magazine. It's the monthly publication that covers not just fishing, but hunting too in the great state of California. And speaking of hunting, we're about to talk to a guy that offers a little bit of hunting for geese in the spring in California and a lot of hunting for geese and ducks and more in Alberta, Canada. His name is John Seibert. He's with TLC Adventures. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Nice to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, John, I'll tell you what, hunting up in Alberta has been on my bucket list for a long time because I've heard how great the hunting can be in the early season up there. And I thought that we'd go ahead and spend some time talking about that opportunity. And we'll start off at the beginning, so to speak, because I understand in early October, you not only offer hunting trips, but cast and blast trips where folks can go fishing too. Tell our listeners about that.
Okay, the cast and blast that we do, we start the second week of October, and a lot of people come up to do the fishing or upland game hunting and waterfowl hunting that we provide that time of year. The cast and blast consists of going out in the morning and hunting upland game or hunting ducks, whatever you prefer. Then in the afternoon, we go out and go fly fishing. We fly fish for rainbow trout, browns, and cutthroat.
Nice. So let's talk about the fishing first. When you're fly fishing here, is this on a private lake or is this on a river? Or exactly what is the setting?
The actual fly fishing part's on different rivers we have up there, and we have one pond actually that we fish for also. We're using 5-weight fly rods. I've been a fly fishing guide now for a little over 11 years. So it's a lot of fun to come up and do that, and there's some nice-sized rainbow trout of a 22, 23-inch fish. We got some nice cutthroats, some nice browns. Just a lot of fun, and the clients, I started a couple of years ago, and this just went off from there. People keep calling me to come back and do this, and they just really enjoy the fishing in the afternoon and the hunting in the morning.
Oh, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the upland bird hunting. So this being Alberta, I've got some ideas. Are we talking pheasant? Are we talking sharp-tailed grouse? What are we talking about here for upland bird?
I'm about an hour from the U.S. border, so there's a lot of upland game hunting there. It's not too far north to where it gets too cold. So, yes, we have a great variety of birds to hunt. We have huns, we have sharp-tailed grouse, and pheasants also.
Nice. Very nice. And so I presume you've got some dogs that you've got, or clients bringing their own dogs up?
Yeah, we do both. Yes, I do have pointing dogs. I have Brittany Spaniels. I have a lab and a golden also for doing the waterfowl. And I do most definitely hope people bring their own dogs. It's fun when you have your own dog and you get to watch your own dog work.
Sure.
So I do enjoy having new people bring up their dogs. Plus, it gives my dogs a break. They work so hard during the season. It's kind of nice to give them a break once in a while when clients bring their own dogs.
How good is the upland bird hunting up there in Alberta where you're hunting, and what are the limits?
Well, of course, it's not like going to North Dakota, South Dakota for the pheasants, but the limit of pheasants is 2. The sharp-tails is 6, and the huns are 8. The sharp-tails sometimes change during the year to year. I'm not exactly sure. I can tell you before you come up, or if you want to book a hunt, I can give you the exact numbers. Because, of course, things do change year after year, and that's what the limit is. It's a very liberal limits up there in Canada, which is nice.
Oh, absolutely. But as fun as the fishing is, as fun as the upland bird hunting is, I know that most folks are coming up to Alberta to go duck and goose hunting with you in that October, November timeframe. Let's talk about that. Exactly where are you hunting and how good is the hunting up there that time of year?
Okay, well, the middle of October, the whole flyway hasn't came down yet. That's why we do upland game and waterfowl, or fishing and hunting, is because the beginning of the migration starts about the end of October. And that's when most of the birds come down, and we're hunting mainly farm fields. We're hunting peas, grain for the ducks, and we shoot a lot of Canadian geese, and of course the snow goose hunting is fantastic up there. We don't do a lot of water potholes if clients want to, but once they hear that you don't have to put waders on and sit in water to shoot ducks, they're like, really? You mean we can hunt from the field? So So the thing is that a lot of people, if they want to hunt potholes, we have that. We have that for you until, of course, it freezes. And we hunt out of A-frame blinds. We do lay-down blinds also. So it depends on who we have, because some people can't get up from a lay-down blind. It's hard on their stomachs to get up. We have some older people that come up, and I love having them. And so we have A-frame blinds so we can sit up. We hunt some the pothole regions also. We have marsh seats if they want to do that. We have that. But most people, once they realize I don't have to put waders on, they're like, let's go in the field and shoot mallards. So that's a lot of fun to do that. Like I said, it's mainly all grain fields and pea fields that we're hunting for the waterfowl.
We're talking to John Seibert. He's the owner of TLC Adventures, offering fishing and hunting trips in Alberta, Canada, and some spring trips in California, too, that we'll talk about in a minute. But let's stick with Alberta for a minute. When folks come up and stay with you, generally, how long are they staying with you, and where are they staying?
Okay, it's a little town called Lethbridge. It's about an hour across the U.S. border. It's right above Montana, the western part of Montana. If you go up that way, if you drive. I have some people that fly in. The closest big town to us is Lethbridge, is what it's called.
Sure.
In Alberta. And the accommodations are in a little small town called Raymond. What it is, it's you have your own bedroom. What I do is I don't take any more than 6 clients.
Nice.
Okay, so it's very personable, and you become good friends with them. And so, and each client has their own bedroom. They have flat screen TV in each room, queen bed, so you don't hear your buddy snoring at night. Okay, so it's 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms in a little town called Raymond, and that's where we stay.
Are you on your own for meals?
No. The meals is fully included. Everything's included on this hunt. Oh, and you asked me also about how many days. I do 4-day hunts and 5-day hunts. So a 4-day hunt, you come in on Sunday, you leave on Friday morning. So you hunt 2 full days each time you're there, from Monday to Wednesday. So you're hunting 8 hunts for the 4-day hunt. You're hunting 10 hunts for the 5-day hunt. So a lot of places I've been where you hunt 3 days, they kick you out Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
So you go out hunting in the morning, and you're like, oh, my gosh, I got to get back. I got to load all my clothes up.
Right.
They're wet. Don't worry about that. Here we have, you stay the extra night. You get up in the morning leisurely, leave about 8 o'clock in the morning, get you back to the airport. And also we have a washer and dryer, have a great facilities for the dogs to stay in. It's all fully heated for them. And we have an extra washer and dryer, so if your stuff is totally wet, you can dry it before you go home, which is, I think, a big advantage of having that extra day, extra evening to hunt, actually.
Oh, sounds fantastic. Now, we are starting to run short on time, but I don't want to neglect the hunting you offer in the spring in California near Tule Lake for geese. Tell our listeners really quick about that opportunity.
Okay, yes. We do snows and specs. We have a 5-day season up here in Tule Lake, and it's hunting all on private property. And it's my property, and we have tip blinds. On certain years we have tip blinds, and we have lay-down blinds, A-frame blinds, and so on. Just finished that season, and it was a great one. So, yeah, that'd be great to come on out and do that. If you want to meet me first before you go to Canada, you can come and join me and do that hunt.
All right, so You've got opportunities for spring hunting for specks and snow geese near Tule Lake in California, but I'll tell you what, really popular. You are already going to be on a waiting list for next year, but you might want to contact them now to see if you can get on that waiting list or maybe book for 2 years from now, or you can book right now for a cast and blast upland bird and trout fishing opportunity, or duck and trout fishing opportunity, or just duck and goose hunting in Alberta. It sounds fantastic. The website to go to is tlcadventures.com. That's tlcadventures.com. John Seibert and his crew are ready to take care of you, whether you want to hunt in Alberta or in California. John, thanks for telling us all about this on America Outdoors Radio.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Grays Harbor Unders makes the performance-based layer clothing you want and need, whether you work, hunt, hike, fish, run, or ride in the great outdoors. If you work up a sweat, Grays Harbor Unders are for you because their unique dual-layer fabric removes moisture from your body and keeps your skin dry, even when the outer layer is completely wet. It's a base layer like no other. Get you some at ghunders.com. That's ghunders.com for the best performance-based layer you'll ever wear.
Low-limit saltwater salmon fishing got you down? Don't be sad. Head to the mighty Columbia River and get into the great steelhead and salmon fishing going on this year. Mike Salazar with Salt to Summit Guide Service is the man to go fish with. He's got over 25 years experience and knows how to catch a limit of fish. In fact, he's so confident in your success, he'll guarantee a fish. Book your Columbia River trip now at salttosummit.com. That's salt, then the number 2, then summit.com. Welcome back to America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and our next guest is a guide that's going to take you from Southern Oregon all the way to Alaska. And that's good, because this portion of the show is brought to you by the Alaska Sporting Journal. It's the monthly magazine that covers not just fishing in Alaska, but also hunting and outdoors adventure. Look for it at a newsstand near you. The guide in question we're talking to is Randy Wells, very well known along the Southern Oregon coast as a steelhead and salmon man. You may have also seen him on television on Lunker Junkies TV. And yes, he fishes out of Seward, Alaska, too. Randy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
So, Randy, I know you're just finishing up your season down off the Oregon coast. Been kind of a tough couple weeks with just high waters. How's it been? Have you been able to get anything done on the Chetco or the Elk or the Sixes River down there?
You know, you're right. It has been a tough year this year for the entire state of Oregon with the amount of rain that we've had. We've really had to just watch the river flow gauges and kind of predict when we're going to be allowed to fish. Normally, we could fish 10, 12 days in a row. This year, we've been able to fish 3 to 4 days in a row and then off for 10 or 12 days. So it's been pretty tough. Right now, it's supposed to be fishing today, but the Elk River was at 5.7 today. And 24 hours ago, it was at 7.1, so it's dropping. It needs to be below 5.3, so I will be fishing it tomorrow and for a few days this week. The Chetco is still currently at flood stage, but it's going to be dropping into shape supposedly by the end of next week, so I'll be finishing up the week on the Chetco. And the Chetco closes on March 31st, and normally the river's full of downers by now. It's had so much water, it is still got a ton of bright fish coming in on the days that we can get out there. The plunkers are still catching bright fish there as well.
And that's what I want to talk about next. You know, when people talk about fishing for steelhead in Oregon, winter steelhead, it seems that the North Coast and those Tillamook rivers get all the press. And that's probably because they're so easily accessible for Portland anglers and even for Seattle anglers to come down for a weekend. But we're selling the southern coastal rivers short, aren't we? I mean, you've got some great steelhead fishing down there.
Both, yeah. For example, the Chetco, both salmon and steelhead is phenomenal. We've got an amazing broodstock program for both salmon and steelhead. One thing that's really great about the Chetco is all of our hatchery fish are created from last year's native stock.
Nice.
And it's all 100% angler donated. So we have these fish boxes up and down the river, these live fish wells, right? And anglers will hook up a fish, and if it's a native, a lot of us resident guides, we're allowed to have these live wells in our boat, and we'll put natives in there throughout the day and then drop them in a pin, that are staged up and down the river. And we need 120 native steelhead to create next year's and the year after's hatchery return. But that way we don't get a weak strain of hatchery fish, whereas on a lot of rivers on the North Coast where they're 100% hatchery return fish, meaning they come from the hatchery, they return to the hatchery, and they just keep reproducing hatchery fish. And that's why you'll hear guys say, oh, they'll hook a fish and be like, yep, that's a hatchery fish. And in all reality, you can tell if it's a 3 or 4 year hatchery fish. It's just a weak fish.
Yep.
But down on the Chetco, we don't have that, and it's definitely an overlooked river. A lot of guys from the northern area, I think it's too far of a drive. But actually, with Penn Air, you can fly out of Portland to Crescent City, California, which is only 10 minutes from the Chetco, right?
Right.
For $100.
Wow.
$100 one way, and they make two or four flights a day. So I have a lot of anglers who are hip to that fly down. We pick them up from the airport, and fish and make it happen that way.
Oh, that's fantastic. And by the way, I hope somebody from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Fish Program or some of the other state fish and wildlife programs is listening to this ingenious idea to go ahead and get the best possible hatchery fish by matching the wild fish genetics. That is great stuff, Randy. Let's turn our attention from Oregon to Alaska, because that's where you're heading next. You're going to be fishing out of Seward. Tell us about the operation you've got going up there.
Yep, so on March 27th, I head home. I'm actually an Alaska resident, so I'm in Seward for about 7.5 months every year, and then I come down to Brookings for the salmon steelhead season. So we'll start fishing for a king salmon in Resurrection Bay. I got my first king last year on April 8th.
Wow.
And we'll fish those. Yep. So we'll fish those April, May. Mid-May, we start leaving Resurrection Bay and chasing halibut and rockfish and more kings. And we're actually catching what's called feeder kings outside of Resurrection Bay. And those are fish that aren't ready to go to the ocean this year. To the river this year. They're going to be going to the river next year.
Right.
So they are just an aggressive, fat, juicy fish. It's really a lot of fun to catch them out there in the salt. But in Seward, a lot of folks don't realize that we actually have a hatchery king program, and I did an article about it last June in the Alaska Outdoor Journal. Almost 200,000 hatchery kings are planted every year to return to Seward, and it's 100% for angler harvest.
Wow.
There's no river for them to go up. They dump them in the bay, to acclimate them in the bay. So they just come to the bay. That you're actually watching them swim around the boats in the harbor because they have nowhere to go. It's a 100% angler harvest.
This is really interesting to me because what you're describing sounds very similar in certain ways to what's happening in Puget Sound with blackmouth in terms of also salmon that aren't ready to come back and salmon that are, basically being caught in the salt there with one exception. The fishing, I'm guessing, up where you're at in Resurrection Bay sounds like it's a whole heck of a lot better than it's been for a lot of anglers down in Puget Sound with the low returns we've been having.
Yep. So last year, like I said, I got my first fish April 8th, and we ended the day with 4 for 2 anglers. But we don't get the pressure, that we have in a lot of the other places. In fact, from April till June 1st, I'm pretty much the only boat on the water.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you there, Randy, because this is really interesting to me. Because you go to a sportsman show and you walk up to a booth that offers Alaska fishing, and invariably the season starts in June. It goes basically the end of August, early September. So to hear that I could book with you and be fishing in April or May, that's really unusual, and what an opportunity.
Yeah, and the halibut fishing is good. They're coming back from the deep water spawn. They're coming into shallow water. They're chasing bait. They're extremely aggressive. They're close. They're easy to catch. The rockfish are just insane. I've got some videos on my website where we're actually trying to fly fish for rockfish, and these are big rockfish. They're in that 4 to 12 pound class, and we're holding the flies out of the water and watching these rockfish jumping out of the water to try to hit the fly. It's even easier than shooting fish in a barrel.
This sounds like a hoot.
It's incredible. April, May, and nobody's around. I've got a select group of clients that fly up to fish with me every year. And if you're not focused on trying to fish the Kenai for any of those fish, there's no reason to wait till June, to come to Alaska and fish.
And let's talk about one more thing. We got about a minute to do it. And that's the fact that not only do you produce videos, you are on videos, specifically on Lunker Junkies TV. Where can folks see you on TV? And tell our listeners very quickly about this show.
What's great is just yesterday we finalized the Lunker Junkies TV for the last few years could only be viewed on Comcast in Oregon and Washington, and then in Alaska on Fox. But yesterday, we finalized the documents. We're going to be on the Pursuit channel. Every house in America that has DirecTV or Dish Network gets the Pursuit channel. It's not an additional package. It comes with your basic channels, and we'll be on every Thursday throughout all of America. 42.5 million viewers will now be able to watch it. And the show's an incredible show. It's a how-to show. It's not a goofy show. It's not a reality show. It's 100% technique driven. And my goal with every episode is that anglers will learn about an area, learn about a technique, learn about hatchery programs. We do all types of interviews, and I try to incorporate the articles that I write into an episode. So a lot of times if you see a Lunker Junkies episode, odds are you could go back either in Northwest Sportsman or Alaska Sporting Journal and find an article that I wrote to relate to that episode.
All right. Well, we have got to go. But, folks, again, the TV show on the Pursuit channel, Lunker Junkies TV, sponsored in part, by the way, by Northwest Sportsman Magazine, which is also one of our sponsors. And if you want to go fishing with Randy, whether it be in Oregon or an early opportunity in Alaska that you're not going to find anywhere else, go to his website. It's OregonFishingAdventure.com. That's OregonFishingAdventure.com. One more time, OregonFishingAdventure.com for both Oregon, Southern Oregon, and Seward, Alaska fishing. Randy, thanks for sharing all of this with us on America Outdoors Radio.
Thank you.
Master Marine in Mount Vernon, Washington specializes in fishing and fun. We offer 7 brands of boats, including Osprey, Sea Sport, Sea Dory, Tomcat, Lund, Weldcraft, and Thunderjet. We also offer Suzuki, Yamaha, and Mercury motors. In other words, no matter what you're fishing for, we've got the boat for you. Drop by Master Marine at 330 East Blackburn Road in Mount Vernon to see what's on the lot, or go online to mastermarine.com. That's mastermarine.com.
Low-limit saltwater salmon fishing got you down? Don't be sad. Head to the mighty Columbia River and get into the great steelhead and salmon fishing going on this year. Mike Salazar with Salt to Summit Guide Service is the man to go fish with. He's got over 25 years experience and knows how to catch a limit of fish. In fact, he's so confident in your success, he'll guarantee a fish. Book your Columbia River trip now at salttosummit.com. That's salt, then the number 2, then summit.com.
Grays Harbor Unders makes the performance-based layer clothing you want and need. Whether you work, hunt, hike, fish, run, or ride in the great outdoors. If you work up a sweat, Grays Harbor Unders are for you because their unique dual-layer fabric removes moisture from your body and keeps your skin dry, even when the outer layer is completely wet. It's a base layer like no other. Get you some at ghunders.com. That's ghunders.com for the best performance-based layer you'll ever wear.
Tillamook Bay is considered the greatest fishing experience on the west coast for fall Chinook salmon and winter steelhead, and Dungeness crab is plentiful. 5 major rivers connect with the ocean on the Tillamook coast. It's not unusual to snag a 40 to 50 pounder. Go out in a boat or stand on a riverbank or dock. Try fishing from a dory boat and experience the thrill of a beach launch and landing. Use spinners, sand shrimp, or salmon eggs to lure them. The fish will line up to grab your bait. Go to tillamookcoast.com/fishing to find guides and places to stay.
Looking for the safest, most stable riding boat on the market? Welcome to Stabicraft. Born in New Zealand, Stabicraft has a built-in reputation for making the most seaworthy boats on the market. Heavy-gauge aluminum chambered boats with models ranging from 14 to 29 feet in a variety of configurations to suit all your needs. Check out the all-new 2750 center cab, a walk-around design for the Northwest market and packed with industry-leading features to suit all types of fishing, allowing you to adventure with confidence. Book a test ride today at Stabicraft.com.
Be sure to attend the Monroe Sportsman Show April 7th through the 9th at the Evergreen State Fairgrounds, with tons of vendors offering big discounts, a lineup of expert speakers, and a stock trout pond for the kids. This show will be fun for the whole family. Admission is only $6 and kids under 12 are free, so be sure to attend the Monroe Sportsman Show, presented by Puget Sound Anglers Snow King Chapter and sponsored by Three Rivers Marine with support from the TPA Fund of Snohomish County. Find out more at monroesportsmanshow.com.
You're back with America Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. This portion of the show is brought to you by the American Shooting Journal. It is the magazine that every month covers the shooting scene and the firearm scene and the tactical scene throughout North America. Look for it at a newsstand near you. We've got a mix of national and West Coast news this week, and we'll start off with the big news, the Gander Mountain implosion. Yes, it's now official from multiple media outlets, from Gander Mountain itself and from AL.com. We learn the privately held St. Paul, Minnesota-based retailer filed for Chapter 11 protection last Friday. The retailer is going to close 32 underperforming stores as part of restructuring. Now, Gander Mountain operates some 116 stores in 23 states. We're going to go through the store closings for you. They're taking place in Alabama, in Georgia, in Illinois, in Indiana, Minnesota, New York, North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, which has 10 stores closing, West Virginia, and Wisconsin. Some of the notable stores include Montgomery and Tuscaloosa in Alabama, Augusta in Georgia, Springfield, Illinois, Greenfield, Indiana, Rogers, Minnesota, New Hartford, New York, Raleigh, North Carolina, Chattanooga, Tennessee, Charleston in West Virginia, Germantown in Wisconsin, and Houston in Texas. So, now it's time for a little opinion and analysis from yours truly about who really loses out here. And I can tell you, it's not the guys in the suits in the ivory towers in St. Paul so much as it is the employees of the affected stores. They're going to be losing their jobs in a hurry, and being retail employees, it's not like they're making a whole ton of money in the first place. Who else loses? The consumers in the area, of course. It's nice to have stores like Gander Mountain because they really offer one-stop shopping for the outdoors enthusiast. Who else loses out in a Chapter 11 bankruptcy? The businesses who do business with Gander Mountain. They lose out on all the profit from all the goods that are in their stores. The moment that Gander Mountain declared bankruptcy was the moment that those stores lost the ability to take their product back and not suffer a loss. That's right. Anything that's in those stores right now, they're going to get little or nothing out of the sales of those items. Bankruptcy. It's not pretty. I do hope Gander Mountain makes it out of this. They're a long-established chain, and I wish the best for them, but a lot of people are going to be hurt in the process in the weeks ahead. Moving on to another story, the Nature Conservancy is moving to protect lands in 3 northwestern states. They've created maps identifying key landscapes in several states most likely to sustain native species amid climate change, and they're distributing money to protect private lands in those areas through use-limiting easements or outright purchases. The group says it has $6 million that it's distributing among land trusts in Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. Those land trusts at the local level must come up with 5 times the amount in matching funds for the approved easements or acquisitions. One of the recipients is the Columbia Land Trust, which is getting $700,000 to preserve 3,200 acres of the Klickitat Canyon Forest in south central Washington state along the Klickitat River. The land is about 38 river miles upstream from where the Klickitat enters the Columbia. Sherry Kearney, the group's forest conservation director, said the Land Trust was aware of how unique and beautiful the area is. It has Douglas fir, ponderosa pine, eagles, falcons, and other wildlife, but according to Kearney, we didn't have a true understanding of its significance until looking at the Nature Conservancy maps. The land is being purchased from the Hancock Timber Resource Group. Kearney says the Land Trust intends to keep the area open to the public. You can find out more about the Nature Conservancy, a group that keeps several of their managed lands open for outdoor recreation like fishing, hunting, wildlife watching, and hiking by going to natureconservancy.org. Humboldt Steelhead Days continues through March 31st in Northern California, a contest taking place on the Trinity, Mad, and Eel Rivers where you can win up to $1,000 for catching the biggest fish. As of Sunday, The first place steelhead on the Trinity River was a 27.5-inch hatchery fish caught by Chris Edwards. Corey Adams caught and released a 27-inch steely while fishing with guide Kenny Priest for the current first-place fish on the Eel River. And John Boak caught and released a pig of a fish out of the Mad River, weighing 18.8 pounds and measuring 36 inches long on the 1st of March for a steelhead that may be hard to beat. The contest continues through the 31st, and there's also a photo contest, too, where you are urged to capture the essence of fishing on these rivers. You can find out more about both contests and about these great steelhead streams by going to HumboldtSteelheadDays.com. Next on America Outdoors Radio, we're taking you to the northwest tip of the continental United States. It's the Olympic Peninsula, and if you go there right now, you've got a good shot at tangling with a big, wild steelhead. With us here to tell you more about it is Randy Lehto. He is the owner of Always Fishing Charters. Randy, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning, Randy. Where have you been fishing the last couple weeks, and how's the fishing been?
It's been a little tough out here on the peninsula, mostly due to weather conditions. A lot of up and down stuff that makes it tough to actually, draw your people over for a good day. But you get it on the drop, and it's good. We went out Saturday and got 3. One was over 20 pounds. He wasn't very photogenic. We didn't get too many good pictures or measurements, but he was a brute.
For those of you who are listening outside the Northwest, the northwestern United States has just been hammered with rain the last couple of months, and it's really made it tough to time the rise and fall of the rivers. You always want to get those rivers when they're dropping and the water is clearing. That's what Randy's talking about here. And as for a 20-pound wild steelhead, folks, that is on the bucket list of any serious steelheader out there. They are beautiful ocean-going rainbow trout, and as you just heard, they can get really big. How long is this wild steelhead fishery going to last on those Olympic Peninsula rivers?
Yeah, it goes through April on the Quileute system, and April 15th on the Hoh.
And if you were to recommend one river to target between now and the closure, would you be going for the Quileute? Would you be going for the Hoh, or maybe another river?
Well, if the Hoh's in shape, it can kick out some really nice fish. That's definitely a nice river. And it usually has color with the glacial runoff, so, if it does have a lot of pressure, it's not highly affected. Unlike, when the Quileute rivers clear up, a lot of pressure can hamper the fishing.
Let's turn our attention to how you're catching these fish, because there's 100 different methods to catch steelhead, but I'm guessing there's a couple that work really well on the Olympic Peninsula in the early spring. Why don't you tell our listeners what they are?
Bobber dogging is probably one of the most effective ways. It's just like drift fishing, but with a indicator. I think, too, that the fish, like the people, miss a lot of bite to where, that little drag on the bobber when they grab a hold kind of gets the point in there a little bit and gives you a better chance at the fish for some of these very light biters.
Are you fishing bait like salmon eggs or shrimp, or what are you fishing?
No, we're not allowed to use bait this year. We were allowed to through February 15th, but now it is all restricted. It's all scentless, baitless.
Okay. What are you fishing under those bobbers right now?
A lot of yarn.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, a lot of yarn, and I've been using yarn for several years. The bait restriction did not bother me one iota.
And one other question for you. When it comes to these, especially these glacial waters, what kind of colors do you use for that visibility so that the steelhead are seeing them?
Brighter colors for darker water, a little more chartreuse on the darker water, a little more light color, champagne, salmon egg color for clearer water.
Fair enough. Now, I know, Randy, that you're using a drift boat to fish these Olympic Peninsula rivers, but come late April, you are heading over towards La Push, which is a small port on the west coast of the Olympic Peninsula, and you've got a nice 28-foot boat, and you're taking clients out for lingcod, some of the tastiest fish you'll ever eat, folks, and sea bass, too. Tell our listeners about that.
Yes, I got 2 options there. We have the rock pile 10 miles offshore. To do a regular bottom fish trip, we can go out to the rock pile, get our lingcod, come back into the rocks, play around with the sea bass. And then I have offshore stuff for the trophy lingcod. We go out 30, 35 miles and pick on the big boys, or girls, I should say.
There you go. We are running out of time, but if you want to book a trophy wild steelhead trip this spring, or maybe a saltwater trip for sea bass and lingcod, go to allwaysfishing.com. That's all with 2 L's. allwaysfishing.com. Randy will be happy to take you out for a great day on the water. Randy, thanks for sharing this with us.
You bet, anytime.
We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast. If you get a chance, go to our website at AmericaOutdoorsRadio.com and visit our Facebook page and like it too. You'll find that at America Outdoors Radio. We've also been playing with a new podcast. It's actually a podcast you can download onto your Android phone through Google Play. It's called Podbean, and you can find the website at podbean.com, or again, just look for Podbean through Google Play and look for the podcast being distributed by America Outdoors Radio. Another place to hear us is online at WRVO Radio. That website, RenoViolaOutdoors.com. I don't know about you, but I've got the fishing bug bad, and I need to get out there to a lake or a stream in a hurry. I hope the good Lord blesses you in the week ahead, and until next week, remember, it's your country and your outdoors.